are under judgment, and he then quotes from Proverbs 11:31 LXX, warning them of the danger of disobedience. He here implies that their present judgment could end with a judgment of everlasting destruction for them, just as Paul had written. 1 Pe 4:17-18. The Apostle Paul also tells of some who will undergo the judicial punishment of everlasting destruction from before the Lord and from the glory of his strength, at the time he comes to be glorified in connection with his holy ones. 2 Th 1:9-10. These would therefore not survive into the 1,000-year reign of Christ, and since their destruction is everlasting, they would receive no resurrection. Resurrection during 1,000 years. The exact number of humans who have ever lived is unknown to humans. However, by way of illustration, if Jehovah resurrects 20,020,000,000,000 people, there would be no problemo textoi acute miritra longo. Retirement 793 of them did not in the past know God and must learn to conform to his laws for them. First, the Bible states that the kingdom of the world becomes the kingdom of our Lord and of his Christ, and he rules as king forever and ever. Re 11:15. And the Bible principle is that when there are judgments from you Jehovah for the earth, righteousness is what the inhabitants of the productive land will certainly learn. Isra 26:9. In his due time, when it is necessary to make it known to his servants, God will reveal how he purposes to take care of this work. And 3:7. How would it be possible in 1,000 years to resurrect and educate the billions now in the grave? Nevertheless, an illustration reveals what a simple, practical thing Jehovah has in mind for mankind. Not to prophesy, but merely for the purpose of illustration, let us assume that those who compose the great crowd of righteous persons who come out of the great tribulation on this system of things alive Ray 7:9-14 number about 6,000-000 about 1/1000 of Earth's present population. Then if, after allowing, say, 100 years spent in their training and in subduing a portion of the Earth GE 1:28, God purposes to bring back 3% of this number, this would mean that each newly arrived person would be looked after by 33 trained ones. Since a yearly increase of 3%, compounded, doubles the number about every 24 years, the entire 20,020,000,000 could be resurrected before 400 years of Christ's 1,000-year reign had elapsed, giving ample time for training and judging the resurrected ones without disrupting harmony and order on earth. Thus God, with his almighty power and wisdom, is able to bring his purpose to glorious conclusion fully within the framework of the laws and arrangements he has made for mankind from the beginning, with the added undeserved kindness of the resurrection. Row 11:33-36. Retirement. Withdrawal from one's employment or from certain aspects of it. In assigning the Levites not of the priestly family of Aaron to serve at the tent of meeting under the direction of the priests, Jehovah made loving provisions for their welfare. He commanded Moses. This is what applies to the Levites. From 25 years old upward he will come to enter into the company in the service of the tent of meeting. But after the age of 50 years he will retire from the service company and serve no longer. And he must minister to his brothers in the tent of meeting in taking care of the obligation, but he must render no service. New 8:23-26. 1 Ch 23:3. At Numbers chapter 4 the service organization of the Levites is described. There it is stated that they were to be registered from the ages of 30 to 50. It was heavy manual labor to set up, take down, and transport the tent of meeting. The 96 socket pedestals of silver for the panel frames weighed a talent c. 34 kilograms. 92 pounds each. There were also 4 pedestals for the pillars between the holy and most holy compartments, of probably the same weight, and 5 copper pedestals for the pillars at the tabernacle entrance. X 26. 19, 21, 25, 32, 37, 38. 27 The 48 panel frames 4.5 meters 4.6 feet long. 67 centimeters 26 inches wide were made of acacia, a finer grained, heavy wood, which was gold-plated. X 26. 15-25, 29 There were gold-plated bars running lengthwise on each side and across the back of the tabernacle. X 26. 26-29 All these items would be heavy. Additionally, there was the considerable weight of the coverings of sealskin, ram skin, goat hair, and linen, as well as the linen screen around the courtyard, with its pillars, socket pedestals, tent pins, and so forth. So the handling of the tabernacle textoi acute miritra longo, retribution 794, because at the temple more would be needed to care for the greatly enlarged services there. 1 ch 23. 24-27. The Levites who retired at the age of 50 did not retire from all service. They could still serve voluntarily and minister to their brothers in the tent of meeting in taking care of the obligation. New 8. 26 Probably they served as counselors and assisted in caring for some of the lighter work included in the obligation of the Levites, but they were spared the heavier work. And they were still teachers of the law to the people. 33. 8-10. 2 ch 35. 3 Those of their number who lived in the cities of refuge were helpfully to those taking refuge there. The Christian ministry. Those who become spiritual brothers of Jesus Christ and footstep followers of his are termed a royal priesthood. Heb 2. 10-12. 1 Pe 2. 9 For these, there is no provision for retirement. The Apostle Paul was active in his ministry while in prison and continued steady ministerial activity until he was put to death. Act 28. 30, 31. 2 T 4. 6, 7 Peter was active to the end of his life. 2 P 1. 13-15 John wrote his Gospel and 3 canonical letters at an extremely old age, in about 98 CE. The great crowd, who was seen by John after the vision of the 144,000 sealed ones, are said to be rendering God sacred service day and night, or continually. There is therefore no retirement from God's service for any Christian. Re 7. 4, 9, 15. Retribution. The dispensing or receiving of reward or punishment according to the just deserts of the individual or the group. That given or exacted in recompense, especially for evil. Variants of, or words drawn from, the Hebrew root verbs shah lam and ga are translated reward, recompense, retribution, due treatment, repay, pay back, and so forth. The Greek me, and me, and related words are similarly translated. To the nations that oppressed Israel. In the song Moses gave to Israel on the plains of Moab just before his death, he described Jehovah as one who pays back vengeance to his adversaries and who renders retribution to those that intensely hate him. 32. 35, 41. Heb 10. 30 The vengeance and the retribution are executed by God in complete self-control, in full harmony with his justice and never without abundant cause. For example, he punished Israel for disobedience, sometimes using pagan nations such as Assyria and Babylon as his instruments. 28. 15-68. 2 Chi 17. 7-23. 2 ch 21. 14-20 But, on their part, these pagan nations acted out of hatred for Jehovah and his true worship, and they went too far in exulting over Israel's defeat and in oppressing Israel. Consequently God uttered judgments of retribution upon them. Issa 10. 12. 34. 1, 2, 8. Jah 51. 6, 56. Ob 8-16. Zeg 1. 15. Babylon in particular suffered retribution for her age-old enmity against Jehovah and his people. Downfall and complete desolation were prophesied against her. She was overthrown by Cyrus the Persian in 539 BCE but continued to exist as a city for centuries, finally falling into utter desolation, never to be rebuilt. Chaps 50, 51 Symbolic Babylon the Great is to suffer like retribution, being thrown down never to be found again. Re 18. 2, 6, 20, 21. See Babylon the Great. Under the law. God's law to Israel given through Moses was one of exact retribution, although mercy was extended to the unwitting and repentant sinner. The 5. 4-6, 17-19. 6. 1-7. New 35. 22-29 But the law of retribution applied fully to the deliberate and unrepentant violator. New 15. 30 In cases in which a man acted as a false witness, giving lying testimony against a fellow man before the judges, he was to receive retribution, the exact punishment that he would have caused the innocent man to receive. Jehovah said, "And your eye should not feel sorry. Soul will be for soul, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hanto textoi acute miritra longo." Reuben 795 Nigh with justice. How shall we escape if we have neglected a salvation of such greatness in that it began to be spoken through our Lord and was verified for us by those who heard him? Heb 2. 3, ftn. Compare Heb 10. 28-31. The judgment of destruction upon the apostate man of lawlessness furnishes an example of such retribution. 2th 3, 9, 10. See man of lawlessness. New companion. Friend. Son of Peleg and father of Serug. A link in the genealogy between Shem and Abraham. 1ch1. 24-27 Ur, who lived 239 years 2239 to 2000 BCE, was also an ancestor of Jesus Christ. Ge 11. 18-21. Lu 3. 35. Reuben C., a son. 1. The firstborn of Jacob's 12 sons. His mother was Jacob's less favored wife, Leah, who named her boy Reuben, because, to quote her, "Jehovah has looked upon my wretchedness, in that now my husband will begin to love me." Ge 29. 30-32. 35.